14th meeting of the Douglas County Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. My name is Pam Weegan and I'm the chair of the CJCC. I want to pass on a bit of information regarding how we will conduct our meeting on Zoom. We ask that all members please turn on video if you have it. We ask that all members and presenters use good conference etiquette and mute their line when not speaking. We ask that you please identify yourself each time you speak. If you have public comment to make during the public comment section of the agenda, please use the raise your hand function on Zoom. Mike and I will track hands raised and watch for time to keep things on track today. Recordings of CJCC meetings are available on the CJCC website after each meeting. Today, we want to welcome KUPD's interim chief Dietz and Zaina Afada, our new management analyst for Douglas County, for today's meeting. Let me introduce our first agenda presenter today. Claudia Fisher works for Criminal Justice Services as an Adult Services Officer 2 for Community Corrections, and she also serves as the chair of the CJCC Alternatives to Incarceration Work Group. Her presentation today is regarding failure to appear. Do you have a presentation, Mike, to put up?
Yeah, Claudia should be able to save or share the presentation. That way she can control it. Or is it allowing you to, Claudia?
Let me try really quick.
Otherwise, I can pull it up if you need me to.
Yeah, if you don't mind, will you do that? Thank you.
Sure. Just let me know when you want me to go to the next slide.
Okay.
Second. I gotta adjust my screens real quick. Hold on 1 second here. I'm not sure. Are you guys seeing the PowerPoint now? Okay. All right.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to provide you information regarding the Incarceration Alternatives and Research Implementation Work Group and what it has gathered regarding reducing failures to appear rates in our county. My name is Claudia Fisher, as Ms. Widgeon introduced me, and I am Adult Services Officer 2 with Douglas County Community Corrections, a division of the Department of Criminal Justice Services. Who were the individuals that made up this group? The individuals that made up this group are composed of criminal justice and social service partners. From the beginning, Michael Brower wanted a diverse group who would provide guidance, information from their particular point of view / assessments on what is encountered when helping people in the criminal justice system. Let's move on and talk about the data behind failures to appear. In the distribution of jail bookings, sorry, Mike, I keep forgetting to tell you to move on to the next slide.
Sorry.
I apologize. We are in slide 3 and we'll go ahead and go to 2 really quick just so they can see the partners. I apologize.
No, that's my fault. So go ahead.
Will you just go to slide 2 really quickly so they can see who the partners that were in this group? Slide 2. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. As you can see on there, there's a diverse group of people from defense, from the court, district, and municipal, and also from Burton Nash Community Health Center. So, okay, you can go ahead and go to slide 3, please. In the distribution of jail bookings in Douglas County, you will see that 21% were failures to appear only. 8% were failures to appear with a new offense. 3% were failures to appear with a probation violation. And 68% were for all other bookings without a failure to appear at the time they were being booked. Now let's talk about the trends and failures to appear here in Douglas County over the last several years. Can you go to slide 4, please? Okay. In 2017, the Douglas County Jail saw 2,626 failures to appear at the time they were being booked. That goes to 2018, where there were 2,595 failures to appear. In 2019, there were 2,226 bookings for failures to appear. In 2020, we saw 1,247 failures to appear. Currently, as of September 3rd, when this data was pulled, in 2021, we have 1,027 failures to appear. But what is going on? What is possibly the reasons that people are failing to attend court? Will you go to slide 5, please? Well, for this, we turn to Under Sheriff Simmons and Captain Rome. They interviewed some defendants in custody and were provided with them insight into some of the reasons as to why they have failed to appear. Some of those reasons were unstable housing, addiction, lack of childcare, mental health, not understanding what is happening during the time of that particular hearing, not knowing if they were going to stay in custody, go to jail, what was the next step. Those are some of the reasons that were given to them by some of the defendants currently in custody at Douglas County Jail as why they failed to appear. Will you go to slide 6, please? This group has 2 distinctive populations that were recognized. Population 1 and Population 2. Population 1 consists of persons who need assistance with reminders, guidance, and has somewhat of an adequate financial picture and basic shelter. This population is really population that just needs reminders and minimal guidance within their criminal justice system. Population 2 consists of persons who need extensive assistance. These are individuals who have dual diagnosis, mental health and substance abuse, an imperfect financial picture, and doesn't have adequate shelter or does not have a safe and supported living arrangements. These individuals need assistance with more than reminders. Let's look at the populations more closely and discuss recommendations made for each population. Would you go to slide 7? Okay, what is currently happening with population 1? So at this moment in district court, as you can see from the screen, phone call reminders are being done, and this is done through adult services, which is another division of criminal justice services. The district court is also transitioning to a new program called Odyssey. This will take the place of what is now called full court. We are hopeful that Odyssey will allow to expand the phone call reminders that are sent out. There is capabilities with Odyssey for something like this. As of right now, to my understanding, the areas that do have them, the counties that have this available are not utilizing it. There's just not enough information at this time, but we're hopeful in the future this is something we can expand. In the city of Lawrence Municipal Court, they currently utilize phone call and text reminders for court hearings. And both courts offer opportunity to be returned to the docket without a warrant being issued. So this is for defendants that have failed to appear. There's ways that they can be put back on the docket. Can you go to slide 8, please? Okay. So the recommendations for population 1 is to modify bond signature forms to give individuals the option to be able to be placed in this reminder via telephone, text. A lot of times what we found is that through the information that was gathered by the sheriff's office is that they have at least one person that they maintain some sort of contact with, whether that's a family member, a friend, or somebody that they can add to the list. for potential to reach that person so they can be reminded of that hearing. So the other one is to add the probation revocation hearing to that call reminders, also for those individuals that are currently on probation revocation status. And then also to improve the accuracy of how these phone numbers and how this data is entered. That's another recommendation that we're making. Create a court navigator position for both district and Lawrence municipal courts. What this looks like right now, from my understanding, is that it would be a person that would be seen as immediately as someone enters the court. And they would be provided with information on, this is where you go if you need this, this is where you go if you need that, instead of, kind of wandering around looking for someone to provide information. It would be a more, I guess, quick and easy access to the court and being able to provide information. Also, we recommend that they continue utilizing Zoom to access court hearings. Right now, I know district court is still doing the dockets during Zoom, via Zoom, so that makes it easier for people to attend. And then provided docket kiosks at the library or health department. So this could be, endless, but one of the thoughts was people would have access to get into this kiosk and figure out, okay, do I have court today, or when is my next court day? So that hopefully they're not missing it and then having a failure to appear. And then provide appointment cards in each courtroom. What they would be utilized for is, after the judge says, this is your next following date for your court appearance, they would just write it down instead of trying to remember it, so they're in their head over and over. This is a good reminder when you write things down. For population 2, what is currently happening with them is that phone call reminders are being sent. One of the, I guess, the complications possibly is that, some defendants may not have a phone. Also, do they have service if they do have a phone, and is the voicemail set up? Do they know how to do that? And then again, both courts offering the ability to return to the docket without a warrant. For population 2, the recommendations that are being made are that we utilize the homeless outreach team. Thank you, Mike. I'll get it right before the end of the presentation. For population 2, the recommendations are to use the homeless outreach team, and they know the area, they know who they're serving, they know who's who needs to be in court and who doesn't, and so they can provide that information to them as they're seeing them in their environment. Maybe even provide them with transportation to get to court or different appointments. Provide the outreach team with docket sheets, just so that they know when people have appointments and they have to be in court. Increase staffing for the outreach team from 4 to 12. And I know this was something that was requested from the city. Create a navigator position, as I discussed earlier, and again, continue with the Zoom, and then provide docket kiosks for the library and health department, and then provide appointment cards. Okay, well, some of these, there was 2 things that have kind of been accomplished. Since then, we have, or not we, but Michael has provided the link to the outreach team, so they do have access to that docket, and they know when there is court for individuals. And there have also been, as of August 2021, there have been appointment cards put in each division for clients to fill out, or for the attorneys to fill out, for the client to be reminded of the next court hearing. And that is the presentation that we had for you today. Thank you very much.
And Pam or Claudia, if I might, this is Mike. Judge Miller did prepare a very exhaustive report of FTAs from the municipal court and shared it with the work group. And he wasn't sure if he was able to make the meeting today or not, although he is here. So thank you for coming, Judge Miller. And so we'll have him present that at a future meeting as well. It's a very well done report, I'll say that. So questions, thoughts?
Hi, this is Patrick Schmitz, Burt Nash. I do wonder, I'm really excited about this report and the recommendations. Do we have an idea on a percentage of those individuals with failure to appears that are homeless? And do we have an idea, a percentage of how many are actually diagnosed with behavioral health and mental health diagnosis? I hear a lot of our recommendations geared to them, which I'm really excited about. And I wonder about the other part, the other people that maybe don't fit into those categories.
So a few layers to that question, Patrick. So we do have some of that information, and some of that we did go over as a work group. With some of our recent ability to draw data from IRC, Dr. Cravens has even more ability to provide some analysis around that. I think we are set up to have a little bit more specific data about that, real soon. And Jill or Matt, if you want to jump in on that.
Sure. I think a couple of things. I think, yes, the capacity of Matt to be able to do some sort of analysis with the information that's available in MyRC would be great. I think it's a bummer that we don't have a direct data link in MyRC or anywhere else with the homeless management information system, which is maybe the best resource to track, to keep track of that. We are working to get a data use agreement with them for the needs, the homeless and housing needs assessment that the county and the city have entered into with KU, Center for Public Partnerships and Research. So I do think that there's an opportunity, Patrick, to potentially identify this kind of service or this population in that needs assessment and that work, and maybe have access to that data moving forward. So Matt can do some data matching maybe in the future. The last thing I would say, I wanted to just share more of a comment, and many of you know that I am the co-convener of the Douglas County Community Health Plan anti-poverty plan, and that's the hat that I wear traditionally when I am a member of this CJCC work committee. And one of the things that we were really heartened to hear in the recommendations from this work group was, yes, the position of the court navigator, but also court advocate. I wanted to offer that as well. Navigation, absolutely, but I would encourage any thinking around this issue to be an advocacy as well. We know that advocacy role in incorporating folks that have that lived experience in navigating the criminal justice system, or are experiencing a housing crisis or behavioral health challenge, or any of the challenges that could be a barrier to folks wanting to meet their obligations would be really important. We have really strong models of advocacy programs in the work that Willow Domestic Violence has done for a good amount of time. And then we also have a really strong navigation program already available in the community in programs like the Housing Stabilization Collaborative and the navigation program that the United Way has been putting forward in the last year following the pandemic. So I just want to offer the support of the anti-poverty, decriminalization of poverty work group. We're really encouraged by this, and we hope that the recommendations will be taken seriously. And I'm very supportive of the expanding of the homeless outreach team proposal as well. A lot of work has been done to make that ask a a very necessary and recognizable one on the part of the city and the county.
And Patrick, I'll also build on to what Jill said by saying in the Spillman jail management system, we do record whether or not someone has a serious mental illness diagnosis at booking. And so what we can do is look to see if people with SMI or a serious mental illness diagnosis are more likely to be booked in or be held for an FTA, for a failure to appear. So that is some analysis we can do, and we can follow up with you on that.
Okay, this is Stacy Simmons. If I could just interject here for a second, the information that Captain Rome and I, when we went to the facility, Dr. Cravens gave us a list of all those individuals that were incarcerated with failure to appear. And we literally just went down that list and just started asking people if they would talk to us. And I think we got about 15 of those folks that were willing to come and talk to us. And about 14 of those had either been homeless or were homeless. There was only one that we interviewed that had a steady place to live.
I want to add one more thing. I apologize. You know, our decriminalization of poverty work group, we were fortunate enough to have a presentation by an organization called Arch City Defenders based out of St. Louis, Missouri, earlier this year. And one of the priority populations that they really started out working with in St. Louis was the homeless population, because there was such a burden experienced on the part of fines, fees, and all those barriers were so substantial that Arch City Defenders received, I want to say it was something like an initial $500,000 grant to provide legal representation services to that population to try to ameliorate these issues in their community. And they continued to do that for a number of years until they had a better sense of what were the services needed moving forward.
Do you have any other questions? Claudia, thanks so much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Helpful. Thank you.
Hey,
Next,
Pam,
yeah,
just-
go ahead.
I just want to just make sure I caught does the CJCC have any follow-up that you would like from this work group? Moving forward, of course, we'll be, all of the partner agencies have these recommendations, and there's pieces that will be worked on by them, but and we will get Judge Miller's report on a future agenda. But I didn't know if there was any specific work that the CJCC wanted from this work group. All right. Well, being none, I will make sure everyone has Claudia's phone number, so when you find something, you can give her a call.
And Mike, sorry to interrupt, but I believe we do have two participants in the audience who had their hand raised.
Yeah, we generally take comments at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
So, unless you want to do differently, Pam.
If they're specific to Claudia's presentation, I think it's okay if we do it now.
Well, hold on one second then. So I'm going to promote Ralph with a question. Maybe. It's not letting me promote. But my concern is also now we have 4 hands raised that we won't be able to tackle the agenda we have set.
Okay, well, we'll just move it to the end and see if
Okay.
things straightened out. So the next agenda item is with the district.
Hello?
attorney. Oh, somebody's on there. Ralph?
Excuse me.
Yep.
Thank you for the opportunity to ask a question. In Ms. Fisher's presentation, it showed the steadily declining number of failures to appear year by year. That at this point last year, that is September 3rd.
You're breaking up a little bit.
We are in 2021 running a full 50% higher FTAs than we were this time last year.
Ralph, you're breaking up. But I would encourage you not to look at this
Are you
data
able to
individually of itself,
hear?
to also look at the data dashboard on the sheriff's website. Basically it coincides to the number of bookings have decreased from previous years, not necessarily the percentage of bookings with failure to appear. So you can't look at the numbers without considering the significant change in bookings due to the pandemic. I'm sorry about that, Ralph, to interrupt you, but you kept breaking up and we could trouble hearing you there.
Okay. So we're going to move on to the next agenda and then take questions at the end.
Yeah, I think, well, otherwise we'll be really tight on the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, our next agenda item is the district attorney's data dashboard with District Attorney Suzanne Valdez and Dylan Woff at the DA's office.
Thank you, Pam. I am going to turn this over to Dylan, who is our IT guru in the DA's office. He's been working on this data dashboard since I think probably September of last year after the primary election. He and I have a conversation about how important transparency was and ensuring that the public knew what we were doing in our office. And so he has gone through many renditions of the dashboard. I want to thank Matt Cravens for his expertise in working with Dylan and of course various other folks who have fly-specced and vetted what we have. But I'm just going to turn it over to Dylan because this is his space. And thank you, Dylan, for your hard work.
Hey, give me just 1 second. I'm going to share my screen here. So what I'm just sharing right now is kind of like the front page of this dashboard, and there's going to be a few different pages to this. Like Suzanne said, one of the reasons that we're doing this is for more transparency. So the public really understands what exactly we're doing in our office. It's something that will be updated every Thursday. And yeah, so it's all data that's collected from our full case system, which is our case management system here in the DA's office. The first page we'll take a look at is our general dashboard. This is just kind of a breakdown of most crimes in Douglas County that the district court goes through. And there's many ways that we can filter this data. One of the ways we can filter this data is with this sliding date, where you can change time frames. You can adjust it in several different ways, a couple of different ways here. There's a lot of other filtering options too. So like within the data itself in the dashboard, if you just want to look at person crimes, you can click on person crimes and you can see the gender breakdown, the racial breakdown, age breakdown, case status, and charge level, which is just misdemeanor and felony. This will also show you the cases by year over time, so you can see the total cases and how it's changed over time. The only crimes that aren't on here are going to be juvenile crimes, non-felony DUIs, and suspended licenses. Those crimes, just because of the way that they're categorized, are kind of hard to include in this kind of data breakdown. And I'll have some more information on those things later. The second page we're going to look at is the domestic violence page. The major difference here is that you can see the statutes and how it's broken down. So you can look at all domestic batteries and you can select that. It's all filterable like before. Batteries, all of those. One of the ways that we've filtered this data is basically all the crime cases that we're looking at were flagged on the KSOR as a domestic violence incident. It's a little different than when you're looking at this page where it says domestic violence. This is done by the statute, while this is done by basically what's flagged on the KSOR report. And all of these you can filter by age group. You can have multiple filters on at once. And that is how that page works. Okay. We also have a sex crime page. This is filtered the same way through the KSOR. And you have different crimes, statutes, gender, race, the charge level, status, and age. It's very similar to the last page. It's just slightly different filter. We also have a drug crime dashboard that works pretty much exactly the same as the last few or last couple pages. And you can see how cases are going over time. You can filter it as well, same way. And the last page right now is the juvenile page, which is all the juvenile crimes that have been taking place in Douglas through the Douglas County District Attorney's Office. You can see the statutes, gender, race, charge level, status, and the total number of cases. You can see the statute types as well. It's really similar to the homepage as well, or the general dashboard page. But I'm hoping this really sheds a light on what exactly we're doing in our office. As far as the future is concerned with this, we're hoping to add data as time goes on. Some of the goals of adding data is child in need of care data, more information on DUI, driving while suspended, and traffic data, specific data on charging decisions, meaning like comparing cases that we've charged to cases that we haven't charged and the differences in those. More data on our diversion programs, drug court, behavioral health court, things of that nature, and possibly a heat map as well that kind of shows a map of the county and where things are taking place in the county. If there are any other questions, I can answer some now, but also you can email us at damedia@douglascountyks.org, and we can tackle any questions you have there as well. That's really all the dashboard is. But if there's any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to once again make a comment on behalf of the Anti-Poverty Community Health Plan, Decriminalization of Poverty focus area. One of our strategies that was identified in that plan was to establish a uniform criminal justice reporting resource for law enforcement contacts, bookings, charging, and dispositions by race and other demographic indicators. And I just want to applaud the district attorney's office, and of course, I know the work that the sheriff's office has done and the other dashboards that Dr. Cravens has done, and his leadership on that work group has been really tremendous as well. And Dylan presented to our work group as well. And so I just wanted to say that this is a significant measure towards our community anti-poverty community health plan.
Suzanne, you have your hand up.
Yeah. So thank you all for experiencing the dashboard. I just want to let you know where it's going to be housed on our webpage with the county. As many of you know, we've got a new webmaster for the county, and has been really helpful in helping us sort of use the current system or current website for making and enhancing our website within the county system. So that's where Dylan's going to house it. And we are working to tweak it, to make it better, to make sure it's very user friendly. Do encourage with any questions or comments you may have, whether you think about them later. Certainly when you think about them later, just email those to us. I want to give also a shout out to Jill Jess, who's our public information officer. She's the one that's also has been working with Dylan to make sure that the information, the data that we have is clearly understandable by the public. People who don't necessarily, they can see what they're seeing, but maybe don't understand what that data is. So we want to make sure that it is very, very user friendly and understandable. So please let us know if you have any questions or suggestions. I want to also just mention before being quiet is that we're going to use this information not only to provide transparency, but to really look at trends and to see what we can do to make our work better, more efficient, and certainly more just within our community. Again, keeping in mind that we want a safe community, but we want a just community. So that's our mission. And this data dashboard, I think, is going to go a long way. And really, Dylan did a lot of work, and so did Dr. Cravens. And so I just can't say how grateful I am for their work on this. So thank you very much. And it feels good to have it finally out there for you all to see. So
That's great. I did have one really quick question. This is Pam Weegan. Is there going to be at some point going to show all the cases that were diverted? Because what we're seeing is what you've charged. But I know there's a number of cases that get diverted from the system entirely.
yes, I think that is one of the topics or one of the areas that Dylan is working on. So we kind of decided within as we were going through the various renditions of the site, when to properly launch it. And as he indicated, we don't have information on the alternative programs, the drug court, behavioral health court and diversions and enhanced diversion, all those things. So Dylan's working on it. It's a work in progress.
And sorry to interrupt, but there is some information on diversions in here you'll see, but there's not a whole lot. It's still a little bit of a work in progress. So I just wanted to share to kind of show how there is some information there. It's just not as much as we would like right now.
Thank you. That's great.
Got to start somewhere, and this is really good. So thank you.
Do we have any more questions for the DA's office?
This is Mike, and I'll just add a comment that it was a year ago that DA Valdez came and said, hey, I want to do this like Hennepin County, Minnesota. And that really jump-started all this work and all the data dashboards. And so we really appreciate DA Valdez's leadership on this, and then Sheriff Armbruster beating her to the punch. So, but it's been fantastic working with you guys on this.
That's great. Thank you. Our next presentation is with Sheriff Armbruster and Dr. Matt Cravens regarding the correctional facility population snapshot dashboard.
Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, I guess I can just jump right in. Well, I want to say thanks to the GIS team at Douglas County for helping answer all my questions and hosting the dashboards and adding some new functionality with the data download link. That's been great. So I'll go over all the new functionality right now, but let's start with the new data dashboard that displays information on the current population in Douglas County Correctional Facility. After that, I'll talk about the new data download link to the bookings dashboard. We like to think that these will be useful tools to promote transparency and allow the public to do a wide array of analyses. So hopefully you can all see that. The inmate population dashboard goes beyond the report that's currently available on the Sheriff's Office website, the inmate and custody list, in two ways. First, the dashboard shows a wide array of figures and statistics about the population, rather than just providing a list of current inmates. And second, the dashboard displays much more information about inmates than is currently available, including information about their ethnicities, education levels, offenses they're being held on, time served in custody, most serious offense classification, judicial status, and more. So we'll refresh the data dashboard every week. And with that, let's jump into it. So the left-hand panel here shows the last update date. Right here, it's showing today. That's when the population snapshot was taken. It also reminds users that you can click on the top right of any figure to expand or collapse it, and that you should use a computer for optimal viewing. Right now, the dashboard doesn't view well on a cell phone. There are a few notes down here too, where the data came from, the Spillman Jail Management System. And it's important to note that one inmate can have multiple offenses. Some of the figures display information for inmates and some for all offenses that inmates are being held on. The figure that displays offense level information typically shows the word offense or numbers of offenses on the horizontal x-axis, and it should be clear. But you can email with any questions. One thing that we've added to all the Douglas County and Sheriff's dashboards are this email address. So dashboardquestions@douglascountyks.org. So you can email that if you have any questions. So with that, we can see that the total inmate population is 148. The race ethnicity breakdown is right here. We see that 62% of the population is white, 29% is Black, and so on and so forth. The Black percentage of the population is much larger than the Black percentage of bookings, as you could see from the bookings dashboard, and is also larger than the Douglas County population Black percentage. So there is a disparity in the jail incarceration rate between the Black and white population in the county, and Black inmates are staying longer than white inmates. So that's a sort of an example of the kind of analyses you can do with this data in the dashboard. You can click on the sex tab to see the sex distribution. Over here, the time served figure divides the population into 8 categories of length of time served as of the last update date. So we see that 24 inmates have served 0 to 7 days, 7 inmates have served 7 to 14 days, and so on. You can click on the average time tab to see that the average months in DCCF for people currently in the jail is 4.5 months. And just to note that the average is much higher than the average time served for all bookings and the bookings dashboard, because the bookings dashboard includes everyone who comes and goes, whether they stayed for a few hours or a long time, whereas this current jail population dashboard is a snapshot. So it tends to include more people who stay a long time. So that's why you'll see length of stay differences between the bookings dashboard and this dashboard. Over here, we see the offense type figure. It shows the breakdown of all offenses people are being held on. The most common offense, like it is on the other dashboard, is failure to appear. The next most common is probation or parole violation. The not listed elsewhere category includes offenses like identity theft that don't have enough records to warrant having their own category. Then we have theft and stolen property. That's a common offense. We have interference with law enforcement officer, which is a common offense as well. And then just note that this figure shows the breakdown for all offenses. A reminder that one inmate is often being held on multiple offenses. At some point in the future, we'll probably include a figure that shows the average number of offenses per inmate. So over here, we have the county of residence and education level. We see that 70% of DCCF inmates are from Douglas County. Education, you can see that as well. Over here is most serious offense classification. So every inmate is listed as either felony, misdemeanor, FTA, failure to appear, or unknown/NA. 81 of the 148 inmates had a felony as their most serious offense. 19 of the 148 inmates had a misdemeanor as their most serious offense, and 24 of the 148 inmates had a FTA as their most serious offense. And just to note that most probation violations are classified as unknown NA. And some of these notes that I'm saying are below the figures. You can read the fine print and get a little bit more information. The next figure over here shows the percent of inmates with pretrial offenses only. So it is quite high, particularly because the pandemic has slowed court processing of pretrial defendants. So we see that it is 80%, which is quite high. This next figure over here shows the detailed judicial status for all offenses. So this is percent of offenses over here. It says each offense has its own judicial status. We see here the people who are in for an offense that are sentenced county time, sentenced state time, referred to another jurisdiction, and pending referral to prosecutor. Over here, we see court jurisdiction and case type for all offenses. The large majority of offenses are district court criminal cases, and about 40 are municipal court cases. So let me stop this and just show you the bookings dashboard and the data download link. Hopefully everyone can see this. This is the bookings dashboard. Over here, this is the new thing that we've added. It says click here to download the data. And it'll bring you to this page, which the GIS team has set up. You have to enter your full name and an email address. And it does have to be a legitimate email address because that's where we send you the data download link. So I'll bring up what the spreadsheets actually look like when you download them. Here is the bookings data. So there is a unique identifier for the inmate number and the booking number. This inmate number is different than the one on the sheriff's office websites reports. And this is the first data set. There are two data sets. There's a booking one and an offenses one. So each row here is a booking, and you can see that there are multiple bookings for the same inmate sometimes. For instance, this inmate 63207 has 3 different bookings in different years. You can see what gender they are, their Douglas County residential status, their education, their days in jail, and then their most serious offense classification. And this is all bookings going back to 2017. So it's quite a large number. It really does allow users to do a whole lot of analyses. This is the offense data that is downloaded once you enter your name and email address. Again, has the inmate number, has a booking number, year, age, and almost all the variables in the spreadsheets are the same as the variables that are displayed on the dashboard. So really what it helps to do is sort of refer back to the dashboard as you work with the downloaded data. You can the dashboard questions at douglascountyks.org if you have any questions, but you'll see that it shows a lot of the same stuff that's on the dashboard, the release reason, the offense classification. The one thing that's neat about this data download is it shows the very detailed offense description. So instead of just showing criminal threat, it'll show criminal threat, caused terror, evacuation, or disruption. Instead of just showing, driving while suspended, it shows the full offense description. So it gives you a little bit more information than what's on the dashboard. So that is it for the new dashboards and functionality. And I can either turn it over to Sheriff Armbruster or answer any questions that people have.
I say we go with questions on the dashboard first.
Hi, this is Patrick Schmitz from Burt Nash. Matt, on those spreadsheets, inmate number, that my number doesn't stick with me over multiple episodes, right? It can change.
Well, the nice thing,
so that if I needed to compare, I don't know what I'm trying to get at, but in terms of if somebody's in there multiple times and want to track and trend that, is there a way to do that?
yes, and that's one of the really nice things about this jail management system data is that it has the same unique identifier for one person. So if they're booked in 2017 and then they come back, even if they list a different middle initial or something, we'll still pick them up, or the officers who record the data, they do a great job of that, we'll still pick them up as this inmate. And so you can look at the inmate number and track all their different bookings over time to give you sort of historical recap of what they've been like in their recidivism.
Commissioner Portillo?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to the sheriff for working with Dr. Cravens and working with the county. And I'm sure legal counsel quite a bit to make sure that we can share these data. It is really exciting to see this level of transparency. So thank you for pulling this together and making sure that folks have access to it so they can ask the tough questions of our community.
Right.
I appreciate it.
And I'll just add that you can go to the dashboards either by going to dgso.org, and it's the corrections tab, and you'll see all the data dashboards listed there. We have a few others, as you know, the one for the Stepping Up initiative for people with serious mental illness, the bond one, and the bookings, and the inmate population one. But you can also go to the CJCC hub, and we'll have those links there too.
Any other questions on the dashboard? Okay, not seeing any. I have a few, just a few, not housekeeping, but a few updates just to give to the group as a whole. One small update that I'll share with you is that the defense bar, Attorney Mike Clark in the DA's office came to us, and we're trying to talk about ways to expedite the process for legal defense to get paperwork, especially diversionary paperwork and stuff, to their clients who are incarcerated. As it's been for many, many years, is they would have to mail it into their client, and then we would deliver it to them, and then they would take care of it from there. But we all know that sometimes the mail's not always 100%. Sometimes the same, it gets stuck in Albuquerque. So we have set up a system for the defense attorneys, local defense attorneys, to put their sealed stamp, or non-stamped, but sealed envelopes and paperwork here at the law enforcement center, and then we will deliver it straight to the jail and straight to the inmates, to their clients. So hopefully cutting out some of the time wasted for it to go out through the mail. And so, and I know we've done it that way for many years because frankly, the sheriff's office doesn't want to absorb that kind of liability to, if something gets lost, then that's on us. But it really does seem like something that we can get done. And the defense bar has agreed that, they're going to work with us on everything. But if we can save 2, 3, 4, 5 days, someone waiting on the paperwork, we're certainly going to do it. So that's just one little update of something that I think can help get things going a little quicker. If it can get somebody out of jail one day sooner, I'd say that's a big victory for everybody. DA Valdez, I see you have your hand up before I move on to my next one, so go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted, thanks for bringing that up, Jay. Jay was willing to talk with us and defense counsel. We all work together to try to sort of be more efficient in getting, folks what they need, and his willingness to set up basically a repository for defense counsel is really going to go a long way. And it's going to help with like diversion paperwork, just things that folks need that are currently being, held in custody. So it really, I think, is going to be helpful. And what was amazing is it just really took like 5 minutes of discussion about taking out the postal service and the sheriff willing to take on this opportunity. I guess we're going to see how it works. I think it's going to work great. Defense counsel was very thankful, and so thanks for, it really was his decision to do it, and we appreciate him doing it for everyone's sake.
Absolutely. And Mike Clark actually had a great point. He's like, it's the 80-10-10 rule. 80% of the people will use it perfectly, 10% of it will screw it up for everybody, and 10% won't use it at all. And so we're really concentrating on that 80% because we want to help get things going, help the inmates as well as defense counsel. So, and then I'll kind of jump back to Dr. Cravens's presentation there, and you saw the daily population at 148. About a week ago, we were actually at 151, and you all have heard me talk exhaustively about functional capacity of our facility, and we are full, period, end of story, over full. And then on top of that, we are having to quarantine, and we have, at our height, we had 3 positive cases, which nationwide, that is an unbelievably low number. However, it was the biggest number we've seen. And so we were really having to scramble to keep people separate, quarantined, and safe. I believe we were down to exactly 1 positive case right now. But we're realizing that we have to make a change. So in order to make things better 3 or 4 years down the road, we need to start now. So what I'm doing is I'm basically pitching to you all my next plan, and that is to build a classification unit. So our facility works on, somebody comes into our facility, is booked on any charge. If they're going to be staying any significant amount of time with us, they have to go into what's called pre-classification, where our classification unit, they look at your past charges, your current charge, your history, behavior, all the things, and then they decide if you fit into medium, minimum, maximum, special, all that stuff. As it stands now, we're struggling to be able to do that. And then on top of that, we have to keep those classifications separate. You cannot have medium inmates out with minimum inmates. You cannot have, which is where the females have a very distinct inequity in their housing, because the minimum female inmates only get 4 hours a day out, whereas male inmates get 16 hours out. But that's just because of the way that the housing is set up. So what my plan now is to and I know that the term jail expansion is actually gets people to perk their ears up. But here's what I'm saying. I am not expanding the jail. Our bed number is 186, and I honestly believe we may be under 186 by the time I have my way with this. But we will be functional at whatever number that is. However, the footprint of the jail will be expanded. My intention is to build a 24 to 28 bed housing unit right off of our booking area and have that as our classification. And for right now, quarantine. They'll all have air exchangers and just be a way for us to keep people separate until we can figure out what even their health history and health status is. In the meantime, this work release pod that is 46 beds is basically useless to me because the makeup of our current jail population means that very few people can be in that open air dormitory style of housing facility. So therefore, we'll build this 28. I'll shut that one down and we will rethink it and its space. And then we will see what's best to do with that space once we have this other one built. So basically, I'm kind of playing a little shell game, but my end game is to have our functional capacity up at 186 or whatever number we have. And so I want to get it right out front. I am not looking to expand our bed numbers. I'm not, but I will be trying to expand the footprint of our facilities. So working smarter, not harder. I also know that, even if we started today, which we can't, we're talking 3-4 years down the road before we even have this thing going. So this is going to be a long process, but I honestly believe that this quarantine is here to stay for some time. And even after that, the way that we run our classifications, we need this unit. And then the main thing also is addressing the inequity of the female jail population and giving them treating them the same that everybody else, give them the same number of free hours, give them everything that everybody else gives. So I think that this will all help. So I'm sure we'll have long drawn out conversations about this as we move forward, but this was just kind of me bringing my idea to you. I do want to address the stop study from last month. So if anybody has any questions on this, let's address that now, and then I'll move into my other one. Anybody got anything? Questions? No? Okay. Well, seeing none, I'll quickly go into our stop study from last month. So obviously each law enforcement agency got their numbers on the day that you got them. And we looked from the sheriff's, and I'm speaking solely from the sheriff's office. Each chief has their own numbers and their own situations and things to look at. What we had a disparity that really piqued my interest and made me want to look deeper into our searches of persons who were Black and brown, and what was found and what was not found. So I'm going to say right up front, we have some good news and some bad news. So the bad news is that each of those searches. So we had like 240 searches. Let's see, I've got the number written down here somewhere. We had 240 searches overall, but 123 of them, this is in like almost a 2-year period, 123 of them with no evidence found. And about 19% of those searches were persons of color. So what I wanted to do is go back and identify each and every one of those stops. So we went back into our systems and we pulled video for each and every one of those stops. However, when that stop was concluded and no evidence was found, it is simply labeled as a car stop in our system. And at the end of a year, it waterfalls off. So that's the bad news, is that we don't have the video of the older. However, I will say that we will now be saving those indefinitely. And we've already made that change to where if an officer searches a vehicle for any reason, that video will be preserved in perpetuity. But what I did find was that we had 25 videos of these exact stops that I've been wanting to look at, and we watched each and every one of them, all 25. And all 25 of them, I am more than willing to bring each and every one of you into my conference room and play all 25 of them for you to look at, because I found absolutely nothing that made me believe that unconscious or conscious bias had anything to do with the searches. Chief Heffley had a good kind of a, what if, and we've turned out that it is true that a lot of times it was the smell of marijuana, search for marijuana, nothing found. And we all know that in order to get the smell of burnt marijuana, you have to lose the marijuana. So that was a very big factor in a lot of those searches. And then, just the way that search incident to arrest works is that if I arrest you for driving while intoxicated, the officer can search for fruits and instrumentalities of that crime. Therefore, they can search for open bottles of alcohol, crushed beer cans, stuff like that. And almost always you don't find any. So therefore, that's a search with no evidence found. So in closing, what I'll say is that as we continue this, even past the Northeastern study, we are going to continue this tracking of all of these things. And we are going to be able to change the drop downs and the check mark boxes so we can better explain, but also more easily go back and look at specific ones. Because there's just a lot of jargon in there, frankly, that, I don't know what, this one thing means. Well, we can put our own label on it, so I know exactly what that means. So that's the update that I have. I'm willing to answer any questions or listen to any other suggestions that you may have, but I think that this is the perfect time for us to reevaluate the entire system as we've been doing. So that's all I have from the sheriff's office. So I'll sit here quietly unless somebody needs me to answer something.
Sheriff, this is Tamara Cash. I just, but as our meeting started, I sent a list of questions to Mike Browler, and I asked him to share that with whoever's interested. And the reason for my asking those questions, they were about two populations, of course, the first being law enforcement officers, and the second population being the people who are stopped, arrested, or whatever. And so I would like to see that sometime in the near future that those questions are answered. You've answered some of them, and Sarah Fisher answered some of the others. But what I would like to see is that whatever we do, we are doing more than discussing and listening to data analysis. Very important. I'm not saying it's not important, it is. But I am anxious to see if whatever we discuss and evaluate results in substantive change on the streets. I would like to see a face put on these people. And, a lot of my questions are about, are they substance abusers? Are they homeless? Are they whatever? I think we need to know this. And so whatever data is reported in the future, I hope that it could include those areas. And thank you for looking back at the data.
Oh, absolutely. And we're not done looking. This is not just a one-time thing, and we've already got some very good protocols moving ahead, but I'll just wait to get that email with the questions from Mike Brower, and I will absolutely do what I can to get through that. And this, and in a more overarching theme, obviously I've been pretty busy with a lot of things, and we've got a lot going on here in the agency right now anyways, but this to me was a perfect opportunity for a citizen review board for us to take this information that we have gleaned and located and let some non-law enforcement eyes look at it and be like, yeah, you're right. I don't see anything. Or did you notice this little thing? Oh, no, we didn't. So Citizen Review Board is definitely something I'm still very interested in and very much want to have done, but it takes a lot of time. I've already been in contact with legal, and of course they're like, no, don't do it. This is a huge deal, but we're going to do it anyways. It's just going to take time. So in the meantime, I'm going to use you all probably as my sounding boards because we have nothing to hide. So therefore, I want others to look at it as well. Shay, go ahead.
I just wanted to say to Jay, I would like to take you up on your opportunity, or at least your invitation to come watch some of the videos, because I too am interested and I'd like to see it. So keep those and I'll email you separately to set up time. To come. Thanks.
Done. That's all I had from my end, Pam. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jay. That was really interesting and informative. Next item that we need to talk about is our fall meeting schedule. As everybody's aware, this is Mike's last meeting with us. He's abandoning us for Johnson County. We really want to thank you for the service that you provided to the county and to the CJCC. It's been amazing. We've got a lot of work done. We've got a lot of work to do, but we're really excited about the opportunity that you have at Johnson County and hope you'll stay in touch with us. So do we want to talk about the fall meeting schedule? Do we want to table the fall retreat until we have a new leadership? How are people feeling? Go ahead.
This is Sarah. I'm sorry I'm late to the meeting, but I did consult with Mike and talk a little bit, and it's my recommendation that we do cancel the fall retreat until we get a new coordinator in place. I just think it's going to be key to have that key leadership position in place, and hopefully we won't have to postpone it too long. The position's already posted. We're already actively recruiting, so hopefully we could look to get somebody on board soon and then reschedule the retreat.
This is Patrick Schmitz, and I agree with you, Sarah. Having seen a number of times where activity happens without the new leadership there, and then they have to catch up afterwards. It makes it really challenging for all parties. So I support your suggestion, Sarah.
This is Commissioner Portillo. I just would like to add support to that suggestion as well. It makes sense for us to recruit, get someone in the door, and then have that retreat with them so we can really get a vision and share the work and vision that we've done as a group together.
Shay, did you still have a question? Kurt? Is that from the last session with the sheriff? It sounds like we're in agreement that we'll hold off on the retreat till we have our new leadership. Do we still have folks available for requesting an opportunity to comment, Mike? I know we had quite a few earlier.
Yeah, we've got 3 on there, so I'll promote them, Pam. I did want to share that Zaina Fata is joining us today. Many of you have met her, our new data analyst. And so Zaina and I will be sitting down tomorrow and sending out meeting invitations through the rest of the year, not only for the CJCC, but also all of the work groups, and putting together meeting agendas. Of course, those are subject to change by your needs, but we wanted to have that done so that when the new coordinator comes in, they don't have to scramble to prep for meetings. So you'll be hearing from Zaina quite a bit over the next month or well, the next couple of years probably. So, but this will be a great way to get to meet her.
And I was just gonna add too, Pam, before we move on, just that, you know, in this interim period, if folks have any questions about CJCC work, you know, Zaina and Matt have really stepped up to carry part of the load, but we've tried to internally sort of share the wealth. Jill's got some pieces. Bob Triansky's got some pieces. I've got some pieces. So if you need anything or you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and I'd be glad to try to figure out how we can keep that ball rolling.
And so with questions, council, I'll turn the floor over to Rick Kagan.
Thank you. Maybe two questions and two quick comments. First, the easy one, will Claudia's slides be available on the website or elsewhere?
Yes, they were posted yesterday. So they're already up.
So they're already there. I haven't checked. So thank you. And this may kind of reiterate some of Ralph's, what Ralph was getting at earlier in his question. I'm not sure, but I saw on one of the earlier slides that something like 20%, 21% of inmates were in for FTA only out of a value of 16,000 plus overall. So that, you know, your earlier answer, Mike, might have been on point here, but that comes to about 3,300 cases. But a later slide then showed only 1,027 for FTA in 2021. So the disconnect there is not readily apparent to me. I just wanted to ask about that and then offer two quick comments.
Yeah, let me pull the presentation back up real quick, Rick.
Well, I don't need it. I just, I think you were starting to explain, Mike, kind of how you have to read the numbers in order to make sense of them. And my question may kind of cut to that. I'm not sure. But if you take 21% of 16,000, it's somewhere in excess of 3,300 compared to that 1027 number that was in a later slide.
Yeah, let me just clarify one thing. There are numbers of FTAs at booking, which counts the offenses, and someone can have 2 FTAs at booking. And then there was a different figure that showed for each booking what the most serious offense classification was. And if it was an FTA, that might be, you know, 20%. I'm not sure, it might be give or take about 20%. But that means that about 20% of bookings had an FTA as the most serious offense. And that is at the booking level. So there's one figure that's sort of at the booking level, one figure that's at the offense level, and you got to sort of remember that someone can have multiple FTAs at booking.
All right, well, I'll stare at the numbers a bit more. So Mike, the 3 things I would just mention quickly that I didn't see in the recommendations from the FTA group. One was the idea of, particularly for the second group, the more difficult group or challenging group, to provide some type of transportation, because that's a huge barrier for a lot of people. And then I'm wondering, too, related to FDAs, whether there would be some consideration giving to creating something like a 72-hour window that would allow defense attorneys to produce their client in cases of failure to appear. That might resolve a number of those cases. And then finally, suggesting ending the use of fines and fees for failure to appear. Those seem to compound issues for the population we're talking about. So those are my questions and comments. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rick. And Martin DeVoe, did you have some questions?
Once I get unmuted. Yeah, I'm Marty DuBois. I'm a member of Justice Matters, but commenting on my own behalf. And Mike, I'm going to say we're going to miss you. You've been very open with us, willing to meet, you and Mike, you and Matt, and we'll really miss that. So good luck on your new position. I want to also thank Claudia for her fine, informative slide presentation, and the CJCC, and in particularly Incarceration Alternatives Work Group for taking a deep dive into the FTAs and constructing a good list of recommendations. A comment would be, I would really implore that the Douglas County and the city of Lawrence to implement these recommendations, plus more that perhaps could be, there are many more I'm sure you might have. And particularly though, involving the homeless outreach team for reminders and transportation. Transportation is a big issue. And, but also in creating the court navigator positions for both municipal and district courts. I see these as a step towards being very much more proactive rather than just phone calls and texts and the other things that are being done. This would show that the county and city is really engaged in desiring to reduce this, the FTAs. One comment though, I noticed that this would be in the presentation on the quality, is based on the qualitative interviews by DCCF. On that slide, I noticed that lack of childcare was the first bullet in the list. I don't know if it meant that was number one, but I didn't see anything that addressed that in the recommendations. And that has to do with poverty and so on, but just a comment here. It would be nice to see that if that could be addressed. I do have a couple, and one question, kind of like on Rick's. You mentioned, Mike, a detailed report that will be available to the CJCC. Will that detailed written report be made available to the public?
Yes, Martin, everything that's released to the CJCC goes out on the website, available to the public.
Okay, so that'll be coming soon?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Another question is something I wasn't familiar with. What is the homeless outreach team?
Patrick, would you like to take that question?
Sure. This is Patrick Schmitz from Burt Nash. The homeless outreach team is a team of professionals, employed and housed at Burt Nash, whose sole job is to work with individuals who are experiencing homelessness or who might be at risk of homelessness. It's a small team, but they spend their entire time out in the community working with individuals and households experiencing homelessness. I'll be honest, I don't know how many years we've been at this, but it predates my coming to Burt Nash 4 years ago. And the needs for them are certainly greater than the team and that exists. And so that's why there's a lot of conversation between the city and the county and how to help bolster, expand that team's ability to impact those individuals and households experiencing what is really a tragic situation in their lives. So that's what the team does. I think there are, quite honestly, I'm not sure. I think there are 4 individuals on there, plus some others paid for through some other grants, but the needs are much greater than what they're able to deal with right now. So we're really excited about the opportunities ahead of us.
Now, one of the recommendations was it involved HOT in helping to reduce FTAs. I would assume you're already kind of involved in doing that to a certain extent, but this would formalize that. Have you had discussions with surrounding that, working with municipal and district court?
from what I'm hearing and what I saw earlier, they've already implemented some of that work. And certainly happy to have Matthew Falk, the director of that program, or David come and speak to specifically what they have started doing when they received access to the docket information. But yeah, this is, I know they'd be happy to come talk at a future CJCC meeting.
So that's the key, is get access to the docket information,
Yeah.
I guess. Okay, all right.
Yeah, and we did make sure that happened, Martin. They do have access to that now, and they are utilizing that. One of the big pieces that the HOT team needs to really help us at, try to provide more support to this population is just increasing the capacity of the HOT team. And I think in that slide it said from 4 to 12, and I believe that is currently in the city budget to do that. And so we really appreciate the city taking that on and their commitment to that. And so we hope to provide them support to improve that impact. And they'll be providing some of the transportation services to court as well for that, for the individuals they work with.
Right. And
Thank
the
you.
County
Thank
has,
you again.
yeah,
Thank
the
you
county
again.
has some specific things that they are working on in helping us readjust how we approach this, and through some of their connections and partnership with the state. So we're really trying to pull together a lot of different resources to create a different team, and therefore a different experience, and obviously a different impact then for those individuals. So it's really an exciting time.
And next we have a question from Kirsten Kuhn.
Oh yeah, hi. I actually have just three things. Most of them are just a little bit of clarification, if you would. Regarding the DA's data dashboard, Dylan mentioned there were three things that weren't included. Those were juvenile crimes, misdemeanor DUI, and what was the third?
Driving while suspended.
Thank you, thank you. And then I did have another question about the recommendation regarding the docket kiosks. Is there no way for just any particular citizen to get online and check their own court status? Would they physically have to go to court without this kiosk, or?
So I should be able to answer that better than I can, and maybe someone can help me out. I know that those are posted online, and but I have to admit I've never gone to the website and seen how easy it was to search my name or court date. And so I don't know if any of our attorneys have an answer to that. Judge McCabe was not able to join us today.
Well, if no one's got anything, I mean, that's fine, as long as it's online. That seemed like something that would be pretty basic, so I'm glad to hear that. And then just one more final suggestion regarding the jail dashboard. I did really appreciate the breakdown of length of stay, but I think that's something that's really important to look at more specifically is that 0 to 7 days, because we've seen, studies have shown a huge amount of bad outcomes at even 3 days past. So I think it's important to know 1 day versus day 6. That's a really wide swath of time. So not to pile on to our poor data guys here who have all the work cut out for them, but that was just something I wanted to throw out there. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody, for participating.
I've got one more, Pam. Terry
Okay.
Wilkie has a question.
Okay.
All right, thank you to Claudia Fisher for the very good data representation. I'm going to go way, way back to Claudia Fisher's presentation. I see numbers of FTAs have reduced by half, which is statistically significant from 2017, which as I recall was at the beginning year of that data, 2017 to 2021. Is that true? Only 4 years. So does anybody ask themselves how it is that has occurred? And I just thought I would comment on that.
Yeah, the jail bookings have decreased by more than half.
Failure to appear jail bookings.
No.
If that was
No.
what Claudia Fisher's data was representing, yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Listen, so the jail bookings themselves have decreased by more than half. And you can see that on the jail data dashboard. So it only makes sense that the FTAs decrease as well as the jail bookings did. But the percentage of jail bookings that are FTAs has not changed significantly. Did I say that correctly, Matt?
Yeah, that sounds good. And I'm not sure what the exact percentage is over time, but I think you're about right.
Yes, so it's good to look at that slide with the data dashboard on the sheriff's website.
Oh, I see. Thank you. Mhm.
Thanks.
That's all the
everybody for
questions.
participating. Do we have any other questions? Nope. Thanks for everybody's participation today. Do we have anything else we want to talk about today? Our next meeting is on October 12th, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.